The other thing where customer obsession comes from is actually our definition of done. So when we started doing Agile, we needed a definition of done. How do we, to make sure teams weren't cheating, to make sure we were all holding ourselves up to the same standard. The initial definition of done was it's potentially shippable, okay? That's classic Agile. Now, that's good, and it makes sense, and was a progress from where we were back in the day, where what we used to do was, we used to just pile code into the repository, just pile it all in, because we knew we had 6-9 months of stabilization. So you just pile all this crap in, and then you would go, oh, I need to fix this. It's a bug, and it's just like the bug was my code doesn't compile, and all this sort of bad behavior that happens. So potentially shippable was progress. That's what we did to begin with. Then back in 2012, we changed it so you couldn't report at the end of your sprint that you'd done a feature unless it was actually running in production. And that was a huge shift because, again, potentially shippable, lots of wiggle room. Actually shipped, that's a bit more tangible. And I can give you a demo, and when I see the reports from my teams, I can look at one, say, it says it's reported, it's done. I know at that point I can go play with it and give them feedback on it instantly. And if I can't, then you have some hard conversations with people, and then, and it gets fixed. But so you go through and you can do that. We did that for quite a while, actually, live in production. And then we realized that we were having too many features we were delivering to production. And we would ask the question, well, how's it going? And the answer was, when will you know? 6 months. And you're like, well, that's no good. Because if you don't know, like DevOps is all about making tiny changes, have you made it better or worse? A bit like going to an eye optician's. Are you better or worse? Better or worse? That's what you should be doing constantly with your system. Hopefully getting better. And it's no good doing that if you don't know if you're getting better or not. Otherwise, you're just going to ship faster and go completely in the wrong direction, but really quickly, So we changed it so it's not in production until it's actually collecting telemetry that lets you figure out, support or diminishing the hypothesis. So we do experiment-driven development. So is this, I think that this is going to happen. I'm going to deploy my change, and then I'm going to see if it does that or not. By doing it as an experiment, it helps people feel a lot less personally attached to a bet they've made. When I was shipping stuff that sat on DVDs, that's really expensive if you have to record a DVD and shred them and do all that sort of stuff. Turn them into AOL coasters and what have you. But by calling it an experiment, people are a lot less it's not my career now. I think I'm going to test this. Ooh, I figured out that this is incorrect, and it's a lot less, I bet that this happens, or I know that this is going to happen. And it helps people actually really look at the data rather than try and get the data to justify their jobs and justify why they spent all that time building it. So anyway, so that's our definition of done now. But it's not done until it's actually customers are using it. You're getting telemetry back to tell you if it's any good. We collect a lot of data. I think we're on about 2 petabytes of data a day. So a lot of data that comes into the system. But that comes into awesome system. Allows you to do these amazing queries over the data. It's just over massive sets of data. But what we don't do is we don't have those as KPIs all the time. That just allows us to run experiments without even having to write any code. We can go back and run some data. What we have as KPIs is a very, very different thing. So these are the and even the KPIs are customer obsessed, hopefully. So how do we know if a feature is working? How do we know if a feature is good? We know by the satisfaction. So when you get those pop-ups that say, "Would you like to can I ask you 2 questions?" And then you give an NPS score. It's called a 0 to 10, and then you write a comment. You should only get asked one of those once a year using Azure DevOps. But we have enough users that we can ask every customer less than once a year, and we get a statistically relevant sample every day. So it's a bit like going, when you go through, I've just been through airport security, and you get the, how was your trip for airport security? There was no, praying button. Thankfully, I'm alive button, but the green button did today. So we do that, and we get a real-time, almost real-time measurement of satisfaction. Churn, so when customers sign up and start using your feature, how quickly do they drop out? Like, how many people make it all the way through? How many people give up halfway through? How many people use the service and never come back, And what's interesting, actually, is we get some churn peaks at certain times because we measure it over like a 28-day period. If you haven't used the service for 28 days, we think you've probably gone, and then we measure some other things as well. We see a peak in churn around about sort of August, September timeframe because we have a lot of people who use Azure DevOps for student projects, and then they all go away over the summer and go get real jobs, and so they're not using that user ID anymore, and then so we see like a bump of churn, and we started to know these seasonalities of data, which is quite interesting. Velocity, so how quick are my teams going? What I care about as a manager is how quickly can we build, can we test, can we deploy, and how quickly can we learn, when can we get our telemetry back? Notice what I don't care about what the teams say their velocity is. You can measure it how the heck you want. I don't care. T-shirts, story points. I don't care if your story points are, binomial whatevers and yours are whatever. I don't care. You measure velocity however you want. I just care your features being used and how quickly can you get stuff fixed. How quickly can you detect problems? How quickly can you, how the customer support metrics doing, that sort of thing. Right. The next one is so there's the previous definition of DevOps, people, process, products, continuous flow of value, all that good stuff. This is like Martin's definition of DevOps. Find the bit that hurts the most, keep doing it, keep banging your head against the wall until it hurts less, and then go find the next one. And don't try and solve it, instantly. Don't magically just, we're going to do a 3-year blah, blah, blah to go fix the blah, blah, blah. No. What can I do this sprint to make that a little bit better and get on with it? So being able to deploy things, if you're not very good at deploying, are we frightened of deploying? Do we have issues when we deploy? Then just get really good at deploying things, And you've got to build this muscle memory up, not just in terms of tooling and in terms of process, but in terms of people. People have to know how to do things, and it's the people bit that's the hardest. And your people have to build muscle memory. And it's no good trying to go from 0 to amazingly fabulous DevOpsy goodness straight away. You've got to do it gradually. You've got to bring your organization with you. So that's what we've learned as a lesson, iterating over pain. One particularly painful place is around security, making sure that your service is secure. So we do a lot of wargaming, red team, blue team exercises. So the red team is a bunch of people who are on the team themselves, so they know the system really, really well. They understand how it works, everything. But they sort of go away for a couple of days into a conference room, don't really tell anybody that they're going, and they hack the system. So they've got slightly misspent youth, and they try and break into the system knowing everything they know, but without using, their secure admin workstations and privilege, without using their privileged, unless they can escalate privilege to those levels sort of thing. So proper hackers. So they try and attack us.